Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's in-person and virtual worship service. My name is Rob Craig Coleman, a member of the worship arts team, and my pronouns are he and him. We choose to share our pronouns because we know people of all genders are holy, whole, and loved. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. All are welcome here as we gather to create an understanding, welcoming, and family-friendly community where we nurture and explore individual spirituality, work to build a committed, loving community, and to help heal the world. If this is your first time with us, I extend a special welcome. If you haven't already, please go to our webpage at uureading.org for more information about UUCR. Here you can learn more about this beloved community and connect with our staff. For visitors here in the sanctuary this morning, please come to speak to anyone involved with today's service after the service. If you're watching the service online during its initial broadcast at 10 a.m. on September 17th, please join the Zoom conversation after the service. Now, as you may know, our music director, Mary Cunningham, and pianist Trevor Behrens both decided it was time for them to leave UUCR. We sadly bid each a fond farewell. As always, here at UUCR, we have some wonderful congregants who have stepped up to fill these voids. We thank Ron Cavicchio for stepping in as interim choral director. Ron and the choir will be here next week and generally every other week for the next few months. Today, as will be true for the next many weeks, Beth Murray is here as our pianist, both for hymns and to play the anthems. Thank you, Beth. Also with us today, as the first person to serve in a new role we're referring to as worship assistant, is Allie Thome. Thank you, Allie. Our worship assistants will perform some of the non-speaking tasks during worship. We think this is a way for more congregants to be involved in worship, especially if they might otherwise be hesitant about speaking from the podium, or just want to get a feel for what it's like to be sitting up here on the chancel. Now, I want to tell you, we believe that you belong here, even if it's just for the next hour. Though we hope it's for longer. You belong here, and we give thanks that you are joining us today.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning. It is so good to be here with all of you today, and I'm so glad to see so many of you here. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. We gather today in recognition of a special anniversary for this church. This year marks 100 years since the placing of the cornerstone of this building, though it's important to note that the congregation that became UUCR has been around for longer than those 100 years. The anniversary of the setting of this cornerstone is important. 100 years is a significant milestone of this community gathering, covenanting, changing, and creating change together. So today, we will discuss and celebrate our history, the history of our building, and of us, who we are as Unitarian Universalists. And we will also discuss and celebrate our future, who we are becoming, and who we wish to be in the next 100 years. So we begin today with an often quoted church covenant written in 1894 by Unitarian minister James Villa Blake. He writes, "Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another." Let us worship. We are going to light our chalice today with our community's words, recited every week to call us into covenant and community here in this place. This week I'm asking David Ham to light the chalice. You all probably know David as a longtime member of UUCR, but it's also important to know that his grandfather, Marion Franklin Ham, was the minister of this congregation from 1909 to 1934, and was the minister here at the time of the laying of the Cornerstone. David will come up and light our chalice and has also asked to share a few words with you today.
I'm very pleased to be here this morning, and I do want to introduce my older brother, Dick, sitting with us, and of course, my wife, Barbara, and my niece, Debbie Ham, who is the family genealogist. Just for the record, Grandpa left here in 1934, and I was born in 1935. So I share no connection with Grandpa in this church. However, my brother Dick does remember as a child playing next door in the parsonage, the Sawyer house. I'm reminded too, I think that the chandelier, I could be mistaken, and I often am, the chandeliers and pews here came from the Christian Union Church. If anybody wants to correct that. Again, I'm pleased to be here, pleased to have my family with me, and we'll be out back at the display afterwards to answer any questions for you.
Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words, which are printed in your order of service. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. We recite our children's affirmation each week as a reminder of the most important elements of who we are. Please join me in reciting these words. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. Our opening hymn is number 145 in your gray hymnal. Importantly and fittingly, I note that this hymn was written by none other than Reverend Marion Franklin Ham. The Archives Committee has some wonderful history about him you can check out in Fellowship Hall after the service. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 145 as tranquil streams.
As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free. Free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed, free from a social thought of human need. A freedom that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in love venture boldly and explore. Prophetic Church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
Are there some kids who would like to come up and have a conversation with me? Awesome. Come on up. It is so good to see you. How are you, Jonah? Good. It's good to see you. Hi, Oscar. Hi, Ian. How you doing, Isaac? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, how many of you like celebrating birthdays? Yeah, totally. I love celebrating birthdays. So we're celebrating a kind of birthday today. We are remembering that the day that this congregation started to be built. It's the day they laid the first stone on the ground to start building the church. That was 100 years ago. And 100 is a big number. It's a pretty long time ago. So let's talk about what you think life might have been like 100 years ago. What do you think was different 100 years ago than today, Gavin? Yep, exactly. They didn't have as much technology, no computers, electronics, video games were definitely not a thing, right? What else? It was so far back, they didn't even have those big block computers. That's exactly right. Not even what we think of as the old computers. That is totally true. What else do you think was different? What do you think people did for fun? Maybe listen to the radio? What else do you think? Play outside? Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that's probably the same. What else, Gavin? Play board games? Absolutely. So in 1923, there was really cool technology like zippers being invented and toasters and the first helicopter. Right? 100 years is a long time. This church wasn't here. We were meeting in a building down in Reading Square. And another big difference was we were not called the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading. In 1923, we were called the Unitarian Church of Reading. We didn't become Unitarian Universalist until 1969. I wonder, though, what might have been the same 100 years ago? What do you think, Jonah or Lucian? They played tag, absolutely. I think that's probably true. What else, Jonah? I can give you a hint. Say it again. Hide and seek, absolutely. These pews are the same. David mentioned that. What else, Gavin? What else was the same? Exactly. There were still gas-powered cars, but they were pretty different from how they look now. That's exactly right. So I want you to listen carefully to this quote that was written by Reverend Samuel Eliot when they laid the Cornerstone in 1923. He said, "This is the church of the open mind, of the open way, free, elastic, anxious to be of service in and through this whole community." Did you hear something in there that sounded familiar? It was the same part of our children's affirmation. That's exactly right. We say in our children's affirmation that we are the church of the open mind. I think the wording's a little bit different. He said we should be anxious to be of service. But I think what he's really saying there is that we should help others with loving hearts and helping hands. Have you heard that too? Yeah, that's the last part of our children's affirmation, isn't it? Beautiful. So we are going to talk a little bit more up here, and then I'm going to have you come forward again at the end, and we're going to talk about what UUCR might be like 100 years from now. So I want you to think about that as you go back to your seats. Thank you for talking with me. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are in time and space, newcomer or longtime member, here in the sanctuary or joining us virtually, we light this candle holding you in love. Today, we particularly hold Martha Moore and her family in our thoughts as they grieve the loss of Martha's mother. I invite you to speak aloud the names of the people who are on your heart and mind today, to bring them fully into this space. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of violence. We light this candle today for all the people impacted by the hurricanes and extreme weather, which we know is at least in part due to the climate crisis. And we light our yellow candle of justice. As we light this candle today, we particularly keep in mind the congregations and community in Salem, Massachusetts, as they dealt with anti-LGBTQ graffiti and the defacing of pride-related items and crosswalks in the town, and particularly at Tabernacle Community Church. We know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and we pray that we may each do our part, living lives of freedom, doing the work of justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to this work of love and justice, let us each voice this commitment by saying amen. Our prayer today comes from the Reverend Douglas Taylor. Spirit of life and love, from whom all things come and to whom all things return. We gather on the edge of another week, and for some of us, on the edge of our strength. We come buoyed by events of our week or weighed down by them, or we arrive in a paradoxical mix thereof. We are here in our Sunday assembly of hope and restoration. At times we are weary and worn down, and for some, that is how we arrive today. At other times we come with questions, with a longing, or with something to offer. But for those who come today shattered, broken, lonely, and lost, let us offer a prayer of resilience. Again, this week, we test the tender places in our hearts and in our lives to see what healing may occur. Gratitude is often the source of healing, and we give thanks for the landscapes of grace in our lives. For the times when we are brought low by anxiety or adversity, show us the wells of love we can tap into. Help us rise up once more, just once more, and once more again will surely be enough. Remind us that we are part of a chorus, that resilience is in our bones, that peace will prevail on earth, and that healing and grace come like soft rain. Be an ever-present strength upon our journeys. Teach us that in falling down, we rise again. This we ask in the name of all that is holy. Amen. If you would like to come forward to light a silent candle, you are invited to do so now. I would like to invite Ann Mark forward. Ann is one of our church historians, and she will provide us with a history note.
So Horace Wadlin lived from 1851 to 1925, almost all of those years here in Reading, and he and his wife Ella were longtime members of this congregation. When he died, the newspaper hailed him as Reading's first citizen for his many accomplishments and his contributions to the town. His scope was simply extraordinary. As an architect, he designed many Reading homes and civic buildings, including the current library and the Pleasant Street Senior Center. Our church is located in what is sometimes called Mr. Wadlin's neighborhood, named for the 12 Wadlin houses nearby. At various times, he was appointed to the state legislature, where he chaired committees on women's suffrage, education, and railroads, became chief of the Massachusetts Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and rose to become head librarian and director of the Boston Public Library. As an author and historian, he wrote dozens of essays entitled Concerning the Past, as well as articles about current events in both local and national newspapers. As a lecturer and lay preacher, he frequently filled pulpits, including this one, when ministers were away. According to the Reading Chronicle, his sermons were models in thought, English, and delivery. At his death, the Chronicle described him as a man of, quote, great intellectual keenness without intellectual arrogance or pride, unusual independence of thought and firmness of conviction without dogmatism, tenacity of purpose, high respect and courage, crowned with modesty. Mr. Wadlin was endowed with a rare capacity for kindness and goodwill. Every Sunday, we see a tangible reminder of Horace Wadlin's life and devotion to this congregation, the baptismal font that was given in his memory.
Thank you, Anne. Our reading today comes from Horace Wadlin's address given at the laying of the cornerstone of this building 100 years ago. These were our forebearers. We are by descent their people. They held aloft a torch beneath whose faint and flickering lights those in sympathy might gather. The light of the torch went down at a later date. It was relighted and raised aloft until finally it shone clear and white, and this time, under its light, a material foundation stone was set. And this we relay today in the block which we place in this building, a building which is to stand for us and for our descendants. We as a people must remember that it is no new enterprise we are starting, but the enlargement and continuation of an old one, and therein lies hope. New enterprises sometimes fail. This cannot fail because it rests upon something more permanent than the material stratum of good Mother Earth upon which we place this stone. It enlists our enthusiasm for the future, our traditions of the past. Its unchanging supports are the qualities of faith, of courage, of hope, of sacrifice, which we of the church membership are able to put under it. Qualities which are not visible to the eye of sense, but which you and I know are not, nevertheless, the spiritual support of any enterprise. They have brought us to this point in our church history. They remain unshaken as we go on to the future. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
Thank you, Beth. When I was meeting with Anne, one of our incredible church historians, and thinking about this service, I had this great idea that we would read the same responsive reading that they used in 1923 to bless this building. Anne, very patiently, let me know that the responsive reading was maybe not quite relevant anymore, with lines like, "How lovely are thy tabernacles, O Lord of hosts! My soul longeth, yea, even fainteth, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh crieth out for the living God." Between all the these and thys and the thus saiths, not to mention the dramatic differences in theology, I quickly realized this was probably not my best course of action. 100 years can feel recent and like ancient history. As I typed this on my computer, listening to music streaming over the internet while hearing my neighbor vacuum their apartment and the cars and electric scooters go by on the street below, 100 years suddenly felt very, very significant. But then I found this line written in the same address by Reverend Samuel Eliot that I quoted earlier in the Time for All Ages. He writes, "This house of stone and brick and wood will soon reach its completion. But my friends, let us not forget that the Church of the Spirit must be forever building. It never reaches completion, and its power is to be found in the spiritual vitality of each and every member of this congregation. Your grasp on the truth, your insight into spiritual realities, your spirit of brotherhood and goodwill, your usefulness in community." And that doesn't feel like it was written so long ago. Let us not forget that the Church of the Spirit must be forever building. How wonderful that we, this particular group of people, find ourselves here today celebrating 100 years since the laying of the cornerstone of this building. How lucky are we to be in this sacred space, continuing to build the Church of the Spirit. Reverend Eliot writes, "It never reaches completion, and its power is to be found in the spiritual vitality of each and every member of this congregation. Your grasp on the truth, your insight into spiritual realities, your spirit of goodwill, your usefulness in this community." How wonderful that we continue building the church through each and every one of us, through our individual and collective spiritual lives, our generosity, our love, our commitment to one another. 100 years later, we continue to live into the mission and vision of this church. This liberal religious project continues, morphing and changing just as we do. We have reimagined and are currently reimagining what church is, what it looks like, what we need in a church. It's different than it was in 1923, but much of it is also the same. As we honor the laying of that cornerstone, we are also celebrating our history and celebrating the cornerstone of our faith. The cornerstone of our building doesn't provide the entire foundation our building needs, but it begins the foundation for the walls that provide a container for all that this church will house. Covenant, as the cornerstone of our faith, begins the foundation for the walls that are a container for all that we and our faith will become. It's what joins us together as congregations, as communities, as individuals. Covenant forms the way we promise to be together in this creedless faith. Both a noun and a verb, a covenant is more than a written document. It is the promises our community is based upon and how we agree to be in right relationship with one another. Mr. Wadlin, who you heard from earlier, said in 1923, "New enterprises sometimes fail. This cannot fail because it rests upon something more permanent than the material stratum of good Mother Earth upon which we place this stone. It enlists our enthusiasm for the future and our traditions of the past. Its unchanging supports are the qualities of faith, of courage, of hope, of sacrifice, qualities which are not visible to the eye, but which you and I know are nevertheless the spiritual support of this enterprise. They have brought us to this point in our church history. They remain unshaken as we go on to the future." What Mr. Wadlin cites here is relationship. It is the human people under the endeavor of this church who are supporting it with faith, with courage, with hope and sacrifice. Those things, he says, remain unshaken as we go on into the future. And 100 years later, I can say that it is these qualities, it is this covenant that continues to carry us. These qualities, faith, courage, hope, sacrifice, yes, but also those named directly in our relational covenant, which I encourage you to reread. It is on the wall in the atrium and also on our website. Our relational covenant states that we welcome, we connect, we share, we communicate, we support, we embrace, and we forgive. These qualities, which, as Mr. Wadlin said, are invisible to the eye, they uphold the very foundations of the church. And just as our literal foundation needs continual attention and repair to remain strong and stable, so does our spiritual foundation. Our covenant and the way we live it need our attention. Renovations are required, sometimes repair. Sometimes it's just a new coat of paint, and sometimes it is deep cleaning and fixing the entire facade. But with our attention and care, our building and our relationships remain stable. With our attention and our care, our covenant holds our commitments to one another, to this church, and to the world. With our attention and our care, we continue to carry the flame of love forward, inside and outside of these walls.
We have a hymn now, unusually. Where is our holy church? Number 113 in your gray hymnal. We will sing verses 1, 4, and 5.
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy land, within the human soul, wherever free minds truly seek with character the goal? sight, wherein we hope to see arise 10,000 years of right.
I invite our kids forward for another conversation, this time about what we hope for the future of UUCR. Welcome back. Welcome back. Wonderful. So, what do you hope stays the same at UUCR even 100 years from now? What do you hope stays the same? The children's affirmation, we hope the children's affirmation stays the same. What else do we hope stays the same at UUCR? Goldfish at coffee hour. Does everybody hope that we continue to have goldfish at coffee hour? Absolutely, that is important, totally. How about the community here? What do you think? Yeah. That we keep our values and we keep our beliefs. Exactly, thank you. What about those of you in the pews? What do you hope for UUCR 100 years from now?
People who support each other and also beautiful music.
Amen.
Peace and love.
Absolutely. Other hopes for 100 years from now. I encourage you to continue thinking. Rob has one as well. But there is a poster out in Fellowship Hall that you can put your hopes and dreams for our future on as well.
I hope there are still children's in the well during the service.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that UUCR continues to be a warm, welcoming, loving, wholehearted, and caring community. I hope that people here communicate with honesty, respect, and care for one another. I hope they focus on relationships, on the process of listening to and loving one another. I hope people 100 years from now share their time, their talents, and their resources in whatever way is needed. We know that the needs of church have changed over time. This church is not the same church it was 100 years ago. It's not even the same church it was 5 years ago. So I hope that UUCR continues to change with the times, that it continues to remain relevant and conscious of the important issues, both internally and out in the world. I hope our members and friends continue to get to know each other in their differences and their similarities. I hope they forgive one another and themselves when they fall short, which they will. I hope they hold one another accountable to their covenant and to their highest aspirations and ideals. I hope that 100 years from now, there are people sitting in these pews looking forward at whoever is in the front of this church with the same look that you all have right now. Thoughtful, loving, kind, compassionate, and filled with so much hope. May it be so.
This month, as we do each month, we will be sharing our offering, and this month it is with the Ipswich River Watershed Association. Their goal is to make sure there is enough clean, safe, and reliable water for people, fish, and wildlife now and for years to come. Please give generously to our Share the Plate offering to support the Ipswich River Watershed Association and the mission of UUCR. If you're here in the church, you may give in the plates as they come by. If you're online, you can go online to the website and give there. Please give generously.
We are going to share a responsive reading, blessing our building, our history, and our future. I invite our kids forward one more time. Kids, will you please come forward because our children are our literal future. So I invite them forward to stand up and face the congregation. Perfect. Exactly right. The line that we are all going to say together, kids and those in the pews, is we ask blessings on this, our church home. May this building be a tool to continue the good work of our helping hands, our loving hearts, and our open minds. We ask blessings on this, our church home. May this home be a safe harbor for all who sail upon the sea of life and a beacon of hope to those on rough waters. We ask blessings on this, our church home. May this building be a garden rooted with truth, compassion, and love, and blossoming into peace, liberty, and justice. We ask blessings on this, our church home. We give thanks for the generous people who made this possible. We ask blessings on this, our church home. We are grateful for the continued benevolence of the universe. We ask blessings on this, our church home. Let us not forget those outside our walls who still struggle with their own needs for shelter and nourishment of the body and of the soul. We ask blessings on this, our church home. We bless our building now and for 100 years to come. May it be so. Amen. You all may be seated.
I'm Melissa Martin, your Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator, and my pronouns are she and her. This is our congregational life, and this is our church home. Today in our congregation, we are all welcome to participate in our Buddhist meditation group in Loring House or via Zoom. Families are reminded that this Friday is the Religious Education Program deadline for registration. If you need assistance with this, please reach out. Next Sunday will be the kickoff for the religious education year with an all-kids activity in Fellowship Hall, followed by an RE potluck after service for everyone. Read the RE newsletter linked at the top of the church news for more details. New friends are invited to join us next Sunday, September 24th, for a special time to meet the minister during our social hour, and everyone is invited to save the date for our Connections Fair next 2 Sundays on October 1st. That's where you can learn all about UUCR has to offer and find ways to connect, learn, and serve. For today, you're invited to stay for our new visitor welcome after service, and everyone is warmly invited to join us in Fellowship Hall for the special archives display and celebratory social hour. Many thanks to Ann Mark for providing our celebratory cake and Andy Gatchell for making a delicious gluten-free option. Thanks to our ushers, our tech team, to Beth, and our worship leaders for all making this, our church home, a welcoming place. Come find me to learn more about how you can play a role in our Sunday morning hospitality, and thank you to Rachel Fetters for making coffee this morning. Thank you all for being a vital part of our congregational life.
Our closing hymn is We Laugh, We Cry, number 354 in your gray hymnal. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. We most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have
Can you get us to verse 4? We don't want to sing all those verses.
Yep. Didn't I say that? Oh. To live, and earth to be seen, and we believe we're Verse 4. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here, the fragrance of what we find, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Please join me in your chalice extinguishing words printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May we continue to provide our attention and care to our building and our relationships, fostering stability, love, and justice as we carry the flame of love forward inside and outside of these walls. May it be so.